Democratizing big data. I had the pleasure of working on the largest database in the world at the time. This is when I was in my 20s. That database at the time was the Walmart consumer database, had all of their transaction data in a single data warehouse. It was 20 terabytes of data. Largest database in the world. Each of those units was $1 million. $1 million, it's half of what you have on your laptop right now in each of those stacks. And the way that came to be is I had previously had the pleasure of working on the fastest computer in the world, the CM2 connection machine, which had about a tenth the power that you have on that iPad right there. And what I was doing on that machine at MIT was neural network technology, machine learning. And what I want to talk about today is how the actual data drove the path of my career through my 20s more than the technology. So we had a pretty cool technology back then, and what we ended up using it for is optical character recognition. And the only reason we chose optical character recognition, we were working with cancer data, we were working with stock market forecasting data, but the only big data sets available came from the National Institute of Standards, where the character recognition data had been labeled, hand-labeled. 50,000 of these envelopes had been labeled for address, and we could use that data to train our algorithms and to recognize these characters. What we started on there was purely a test case for the technology. What ended up happening is we commercialized the technology. It ended up in these very, very fast scanners, and we ended up scanning all the tax forms from the state of Texas. So we had a commercially successful thing, made millions and millions of dollars. The only reason we were even on that path through life was because the data led us in that direction. So was that the optimal path through life? Well, let me give you another story. So right after that, I ended up working on these computers, the MassPar supercomputers. Those are $2 million a box. Roughly 4,000 processors in each of those boxes. And they introduced me to these people. At the time, Walmart was going bananas. So Walmart in Bentonville, Arkansas said, hey, we have a lot of data. And they had just rolled out supercenters. So for the first time in Walmart history, they were dealing with items like these bananas that perish. If you look around that rack, everything around there is hard goods that last for months or years on the shelf. And all of a sudden, you've got things in the store that will actually attract fruit flies if you don't move them quickly. So they got in touch with us and said, hey, can you use that same technology to tell us who's going to buy what on what day, and we can get exactly the right amount of inventory in every store? We said, yeah, we can do that. Where's all this data coming from? Walmart said, we've spent on the order of $100 million on these satellite dishes that are outside of our headquarters that grab all of the data from around the world and get it into this building in real time. We said, okay, well, we can try and solve that problem. And again, we're solving a problem specifically because the data is abundant and the data is available, not because it's the best thing for the world, not because the technology is leading us in that direction, but because the data is available. That led us to this building, the PacMed building, which is where Amazon was just starting to come into existence. So what happened there is the data warehousing team from Walmart was actually hired by Amazon, and they all moved out to Seattle, and they called within a week of arriving in Seattle and said, hey, Dave, you know what you're doing down at Walmart with the big data? We're gathering over 100 times more data here in Seattle. For every transaction that Walmart has, we have 100 mouse clicks and 100 mouse moves. So we have 100 times more data to analyze here. So can you move that entire MIT-based team out here to Seattle and help us start analyzing this? So this is the third time in a row that our business strategy is being dictated by the abundance of the data. That worked out very, very well for us. But this mode of operation where we as a society follow the data around and choose our next big problem because the data is abundant is not efficient enough for today's entrepreneurial economy. And let me tell you why. First, if you look at the age of the founding CEOs, this is the age of billion-dollar valued companies and the age of the founder on founding day. And you see that bubble on the left, that highest bar now is people aged 20 to 24, founding companies that become worth $1 billion or more. And you can see the people in their 20s, between 20 and 29, are now collectively by far larger than the 30s and 40s in terms of founding billion-dollar companies. These people are moving through life far, far, far faster than people moved through life 10, 20 years ago. They can't just follow the data around. They actually need to work on the immediately urgent problems. Kyle Vogt here is a good example. Graduated from MIT in 08. Between 08 and 2016, so in 8 years, founded 3 different companies that had valuations of $1 billion, $60 million, and $1 billion. This red line on this chart shows the growth of incubators and accelerators in the economy. When we started doing this, only 6% of companies were coming out of incubators and accelerators. Now a third of all startups are coming out of incubators and accelerators. So what's happened here is that the incubators and accelerators have collected the data and have put together the infrastructure to allow entrepreneurs to go after the right problem right away rather than follow the data throughout their career. That's making them far more effective and making them able to move through their careers much more quickly. So what we need to do next is worry about the security and reliability of the data. So we're founding what is called the Data Collective. That's a layer of technology that sits around all this abundance of data and allows startups, entrepreneurs, and researchers to access relevant data sets across all areas of endeavor that are secure and prepackaged and ready to go so that people can move more quickly through their careers and through their lives.